What is up, YouTube? Okay, so I know I haven't posted in a long ass time and I feel really bad, but when it comes to moving, getting a new house, just organizing myself and trying to start a new build. If you guys don't know me, my name is Brian, and if you look at my previous videos, I had a pretty decent build Mazda Speed 3, but I ended up selling that, bought me a Subaru, and I sold that again because the market was super high in demand for those cars. So it's just like I couldn't resist. So I just put it up there and I was like, let me see if it sells. If it sells, then cool, whatever. But it did end up selling. The guy was really cool, the guy who bought it from me, and I think he's currently modding it himself. If I find his YouTube, or not his YouTube, but I think he has a friend who has a YouTube channel. I'll end up linking it if you guys want to check out what happens to the Subaru. But other than that, I decided to start my own project, and hopefully you guys can join me because I know these cars get a lot of bad rep. But I am building my first Rx-8, and this car was I would say a pretty barnyard find, I guess, because the guy who previously had it didn't know what to do with it exactly. So I believe he was moving and he couldn't bring the car with him. So he ended up putting it on Facebook. I found it, gave him like $1,000 for just the whole body. Came with an engine and transmission, but the engines on these cars are really unreliable. So I didn't want to just throw another Rx-8 engine in there. And I was thinking about other designs, but I found myself just wanting to keep it still rotary. That's the whole point of an Rx-8. You know, I love Rx-7s. And so I was like, let me just stick with keeping it rotary. But I didn't want to just, like I said, I didn't want to put a 13 REW in there, which is the Rx-7 engine in it, and calling it a day. I was like, let me see if I can just put the original motor in it, because I do plan on tracking this car. I'm not just gonna rebuild it just to daily drive it or anything like that. Like, this is gonna be a full build track car, and that's why I really want you guys to be part of this, because I'm gonna try to put really many videos out there for you guys and just keep up to date on what I'm doing. Currently, like I said, I just bought the car and I'm working on the engine, because the engine is my pretty much the most expensive part right now, because well, we'll get into it in a little bit, but I'll show you guys the car real quick so you guys can see what it looks like, the condition it's in, and you know how far we got to go. So it's a 6-speed manual transmission. It's a 6-port. It came with a 6-port engine. That's the reason I bought it. So it comes with the oil coolers, comes with a 6-speed transmission, and so far, I don't think I've done much to the body itself. Just the engine, just getting the engine alone. So I didn't personally build this engine, but the guy, I live in North Carolina, and the guy who built the engine is a longtime expert in rotaries. But this was his first design, or his first build of this motor, and he actually gave me the PSI numbers that this was pushing out when he put it together. Pretty impressive, honestly. I think it was like 110, 115. I don't know, I have the messages, but I'll show you guys later. So I grabbed the old engine, I took a lot of those parts out, and I just basically stuck it on this engine. Anything that basically I could from the original motor, because in a sense, this motor is still the same motor The only difference is the exhaust. So if you guys see here, let me try to zoom in. If you guys see here, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exhaust ports, which a rotary, regular Rx-8 Renaissance engine only comes with these 3. So these 2 are added for more exhaust flow. So I think eventually if I wanted to turbo this car, it would be a lot better, just a lot more efficient in turboing, because these Rx-8s aren't really good for turboing. So the reason I'm doing this video now too is because I'm gonna go ahead and start building this, because this is basically all I really need to complete this engine. So as you see here, I still have a stock Rx-8 intake manifold that goes straight into the body. Because like I said, nothing changes on this engine except for these 2 exhaust ports. So this stock intake mounts on it just perfectly. Everything else, all the wiring, even the metering pump. I actually adapted a Shonen SOHN kit to this so that it can pump oil, because I bought the Mazda rotary. I bought the Mazda rotary premix, which is this one, I think it's pronounced Idemitsu Racing Rotary Premix, which is like what they recommend if you're gonna do this adapter. And I know that this Shonen, I don't believe it's like gravity. I'm not really sure how it works, but I will be premixing the gas as well, not just putting it in the pump or the pump itself. But I'm still actually waiting on that pump, because the people I bought it from, which is Rx-8 Performance, they build them, and I actually have to call them because they haven't gotten back to me. But they sent me a lot of parts, brand new, like, what did they send me? The timing belt, or not the timing belt, I'm sorry, just the pulleys. I bought the pulleys for the front. So I got a brand new alternator because I didn't have an alternator with this engine. All the wiring I did myself though. Just plugged it, like I said, I just plugged it back in. Here's a better view of everything. Let me zoom out a little bit so you guys can see. See, it's all original wiring from the other engine, and I just plugged it. That's all the gas lines right here. And this is the back part. This goes to the transmission, I believe. And then I bought a brand new oil filter. And I do have I forgot what these are called actually. The spark plug cables and all that for that. Oil, see, everything else is the same. You still have the 4 parts for the spark plugs: top, lower, bottom, top, lower, you know what I'm saying? And then everything else is the same. This is 13B Mazda, which is pretty cool. I'm trying to think of anything else. All right, for those that don't know, this engine requires you to have, for those who don't know, this engine actually requires for you to have 2 older housings, the silver parts, the older housings from an RX-7, and in order for this to work, because they basically fit together perfectly. And it has to be the specific model too. RX-7, you can't just get a regular REW or 9097 housing. You have to get an FD. I'm sorry. It's a So this housing consists of a RX-7 1984, 85. They're called GSL-E housings. So it gives you those two peripheral exhausts, which are the center ones. And that's the only way that this will work. That's the only way this engine will come back together and be perfect. Now I also did forget to mention another thing that I had to do custom myself. Now, since a lot of people pre-mix their gas, there is a kit that you can buy, and basically it like plugs in the oil. But since I'm using the shown adapter, I didn't want to just pre-mix. I wanted to do pre-mixing and this adapter, obviously, because I want as much lubrication as I want in this engine just to keep it cool, keep it running. This engine is almost like a two-stroke engine, so you want to throw as much oil with the gas as possible. So it comes with it. The guy who sold me the engine actually put this on there because he just assumed I wasn't going to use the metering pump. But I was like, F it, I'll do it myself, So this is tricky because they don't sell like just a regular lines for you to custom fabricate your own lines for the metering pump. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. All right, so if you look here, I have only two. And you're like, well, why do you only have two? And that's the whole reason why. Oh, this is blurry. Hold on. Let me see if it'll zoom in for you guys. All right, so I decided to go with the top one and the bottom one because I wanted to do oil, no oil, like just pump oil into the first one, no oil on this one, then no oil on this one, and then pump to the fourth one. Like I said, I'm pre-mixing, so it doesn't really matter for these, but I didn't want to be like, pump oil, no oil, no oil. So I kind of just wanted pump, no pump, no pump, and then pump again. So these lines, I had to kind of like, you have to be very careful because the older they are, the more fragile they get. But I had to custom like just shove them in there so that they can fit specifically on the engine. And if you can see right there, that's one of the meterings right there, that one right there. I had to force that in there so it doesn't naturally have this angle. Because the Rx-8, you see this one's better actually. This right here. Is that the Rx-8 doesn't come with those two knobs up top, so I had to angle them sideways and force them into that part. And so I had to force them into that part. But other than that, like I said, everything is original. Rx-8, water pump, lines, oils, everything. You need a computer. I'm gonna do an aftermarket ECU later on because I didn't want to go crazy with spending money and the engine doesn't work. So I wanted to go ahead and keep it as stock as possible and see if the computer doesn't even like recognize. So I wanted just to mess with this to see how stock I can have it, and then go dyno it and see what stock numbers this will push out. So that's why I'm trying to keep it as stock, not have an ECU, not have anything like that, and then eventually get an ECU and we'll build this car like it's meant to be. So the only thing I actually put in this engine bay was an aftermarket expansion tank for the coolant. And like I said, I'm still waiting on the double oil, so you can put the oil and the premix on one side and then just the regular fluid for the wipers on one side. I'm still waiting on that. And then I also bought a fan cooler for the radiators, the oil radiators. So that fan is basically a bolt-on, and it just comes onto this, and it'll be behind it to cool this off even better. So if I'm just standing in traffic, or if I'm just standing waiting in line or something like that, I can flip those on and they're cooling my oil of my engine. Since I'm not using any engine in the oil, it's going to be consistently cooled with those fans. So I'm still waiting on that part. And then that Shonin adapter, let me show you it actually. It's squeezed in right there. That's it right there. There it is. So that goes, the pump goes here, and you take this off and you put that pump there. But I haven't got it yet, so I'm gonna get it soon, hopefully. And then I'll take this off, put that new pump there, and then it'll be a line that goes into the engine over here. Here's a new expansion, you know, where the antifreeze goes and all that stuff, because I believe the stock ones aren't really that good. And since I think this engine's gonna be running a lot better and a lot cooler, I think it'd be best just to upgrade this anyways. And as far as everything else, I think I'm gonna try to keep it stock, and hopefully my numbers on everything just stay really cool. But the biggest is definitely the exhaust. So this is the stock exhaust. You can actually see it only has the middle ones. And I'm deleting this as well. So this is the peripheral exhaust from the Rx-7. And then this is the original Rx-8 exhaust. So hopefully we get some really good numbers out this car. And like I said, I'm gonna try to bring you guys along for this build. Like I said before, I'm gonna try to keep you guys along with this build. Hopefully we can put some really good numbers on this engine, and I just hope that it comes out really good and that you guys can experience this for myself, because there is a couple videos on YouTube about this engine, but just nothing really clear and what they had to go through or anything like that. So I've seen this motor really good, push out like 250, something like that, or 230 to the wheel without a turbo or anything like that. So I'm really excited for this build, and I hope you guys can join me and just tag along for the ride. So when I start working on this weekend, actually I'm going to start working on the exhaust and building that exhaust. We can go ahead and I'll show you what I had to do. Show you what I had to do for that exhaust, because that shit was not easy either. But when we get there, we'll get there, and I hope you guys enjoy what I have coming for our next couple of videos, and hopefully this build is amazing. So thank you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button and follow me for more content. Thank you guys.